Well, greetings everybody, and welcome back to the Bond Geek channel with me, your host, the name's Stevens, Henry Stevens. Everybody, how'd you do? Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying a good Bond film, a good Bond book, a good Bond video game, a good James Bond, whatever makes you part of this glorious fandom, everybody, that is the James Bond community. Welcome. And today, we're going to be discussing the 1954 Climax TV 3-act special they did of Ian Fleming's first novel, Casino Royale. Yes, the original, if you will, screen debut of James Bond on any sort of silver screen here. It was done in this Climax episode of James Bond, everybody. So, let's get into it right now. Here is my initial thoughts of Climax Casino Royale. I actually quite like it. I actually think it's not that bad. Taking into account it is the 1950s and it's all being done live for us. There is a bit of jumpiness about, but do you know what? To be fair, I actually think overall it's sort of quite actually enjoyable, everybody. But we're going to get into that in a lot more detail now, everybody, because what I want to do now, as always with every video I do, everybody, is I want to share with you my own personal connection with things relevant in the Bond franchise, and I want to talk about my own personal connection with this Climax Casino Royale here, everybody, because I discovered this sort of, this version of, if you will, Casino Royale. I think it was from my book, The Essential James Bond, which, by the way, everybody, when I was growing up, this was my utter favourite book when it came to James Bond. It was to me, it was my Bond Bible, everybody. And I saw some pictures in it, and I remember saying, James Bond done the TV in 1954, and, I would like to say when I started getting this book, I was more into looking at the pictures, if I'm absolutely honest. I read a bit here and there in the book, but I just love looking at the pictures. That probably just shows me up very well, everybody. But I saw, the picture of Barry Nelson in the chair holding the gun with the girl near him, and to be honest, I just assumed it was some sort of Bond's sort of spoof or competitor or something. And I do remember it just saying in the book Barry Nelson as James Bond, and I was like, I don't know Barry Nelson. I don't know Barry Nelson. Doesn't ring a bell with me. But then eventually I learned about it as went on. I mean, technically, the next thing involving Casino Royale that I learned about was the 1960s spoof. And then from there, seeing some stuff on the DVD of the special behind the scenes, I learned about this whole other version of Casino Royale, done obviously with the one we're talking about today with Barry Nelson and Peter Lorre. And, it was just something like, they said it couldn't be seen and all that stuff. But eventually, as we know, everybody, it did get found. And I now have watched it. That's why we're doing this review, everybody. But when I think about this version of Casino Royale, really strongly in my head, I think about just all those times reading that utterly amazing Being James Bond book. It was just one of the best books, everybody. But look, everybody, as you can probably imagine, there are good points and there are bad points when it comes to this TV special here. And I just decided I really want to go over some of the bad points first before we get into some of the good points. Now, the biggest bad point for me here is actually Barry Nelson as James Bond. Now, I'm going to take away from this argument the fact that because it was done for an American audience, they changed Bond from a British Secret Service agent. He is now the CIA agent in the film, and obviously Felix Leiter is now British intelligence. I'm taking that out of the equation here. But Barry Nelson as, if you will, James Bond, it's honestly just not working for me. I think what it's lacking for me is really much some of the charm and the sophistication that even in the books, James Bond had a lot and actually in abundance. I get with Barry Nelson how can I put it? I get the I'm very much a killer and I'll kill everybody and nothing gets in the way of my mission side of Bond, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really great. But I just don't get the charm and sophistication I think all actors who followed on, who have played James Bond, and that includes people who were in the spoof Casino Royale, really did have. It's just not here, and I find him overly. I find Barry Nelson here just very, very stiff and a bit too wooden at times. It's almost like he's feeling, in my opinion, that this text is below him. But again, that is just my thoughts on just Barry Nelson. Overall, it wasn't a very good portrayal as James Bond, really, here. And if I'm absolutely, I am so nitpicking, and I feel it's a bit unfair to say, but I'm going to say it, some of the dialogue in this special is just, oh my god, it's awful. I mean, some of it's just so corny. It's so just, oh, did he really, really say that? It's just, I mean, to be honest, there's a wonderful scene in the sort of bit where Bond and Felix are talking to each other, and obviously Bond's under the guise of teaching Leiter how to play Baccarat, and actually Leiter giving him his mission, telling him about the Chiffre. And some of the bits, like, in there is like, you know, it's meant to be this really cool scene, and then how Clarence Leiter in this story is just trying to talk to Bond. It's like, yes, oh yes, oh yeah, oh so you got yeah, oh yeah, so it's highest up to 9, is it? Oh yes, very, very, very good. Your mission, it's like, oh. I mean, I don't think even the Austin Powers movie went that cringeworthy at times, but I fully accept it might have just been a part of the era and the sort of style that they were going for, everybody. Another thing I really, really find a bit annoying is sometimes, I think this again, because it's live, some of the ways that the shots are set up and how people move across the scene, it's like it goes so far in front of you. It like nearly sometimes blocks stuff out, and people are getting too close to the camera or too far away, or people are trying to go are running too fast. It's all part of the problem when it comes to live shows. And just the annoying thing is, and I'm going to have to be honest with you guys, when it happens, it just takes me right out of, if you will, the special. It really does, in the story. But listen, that's just some of my negative points, because I really would love to talk about some really great points in this. Number one, technically, in a weird way, because of the way the climax episodes start, we sort of get a bit of a gun barrel, you know, when we're going into the camera to tell a story. I mean, to be honest, it is slightly reminiscent of a gun barrel when you think about it. And it's sort of, I was watching it just going into and going, I can sort of, you know, based on just how I saw No Time to Die, because, you know, I don't consider this a spoiler, No Time to Die, Bond comes over, shoot, you go into the gun barrel, then into the movie again. It's sort of slightly reminiscent of that, and I thought, yeah, do you know what, I'll accept that as a bit of my gun barrel here. It was not bad. But one of my utter highlights in the movie, without a shadow of a doubt, is Peter Lorre as Le Chiffre. Now, everybody, you know, he's not going to be one of my favourite actors of all time, but I do love Peter Lorre as an actor. I love how he makes his voice. It's just so like this. And I just love it when he says, like, oh, Mr. Bond, you nearly have destroyed me, but I will need that check. Please tell me where it is, Mr. Bond. I will have to torture you. I have to torture you to an inch of your life. I love Peter Lorre. Literally, if he's in anything, I just go absolutely bananas. I think he's just one of those actors, even though I've obviously never met him before, and I never will. I just love him every time he's on. And to have him play Le Chiffre, the bad guy, because I thought it was such a wonderful casting. If Casino Royale was done in the 1960s, you know, if Casino Royale was the first official James Bond movie with Sean Connery, I would have begged them still to have Peter Lorre return to play Le Chiffre, because I think he does a really wonderful job. He's a really great, actually, Bond villain. He's menacing, he's intelligent, and he's just the right amount. Honestly, one of the great highlights for me in this film was Peter Lorre as Le Chiffre here. And do you know what? The card game was actually really good. Now, it's very short, obviously, you know, but it does contain all the elements that happen in the book. Bond playing Le Chiffre, you know, Le Chiffre, you know, Baccarat him out, him getting more money to go back in, and then eventually winning. It's just done at a very sort of sped up pace. But the card game, again, is very intense. I must be a bit of a sucker as well for card games and movies, or poker scenes, or any form of gambling on movies, because whenever it happens on screen, I get so excited when, you know, you get the cards, and then they turn around and see what they've got, and then, ooh, you're gonna get another card or no card. It's just, honestly, I must be a sucker for this, because again, I just really loved the card game sequence in this movie. I thought it was done exceptionally well, really, really good. So everybody, those are my good and negative points when it comes to it. And let's talk about some of the characters in this movie. Now, I've obviously talked about James Bond here, also known as Jimmy Bond in the film. I've talked about Le Chiffre. Let's talk about the leading lady, the sort of replacement of Vesper / the sort of Mathis character in this special. Her name is Valerie Mathis. Honestly, she's an interesting Bond leading lady. A bit of a, I wouldn't say really truly in the model of what a Ian Fleming Bond lady to be. You know, as you all know, my opinion of all Bond ladies, what they should be is strong, independent characters. They have been since the time of Dr. No, and they always still continue to should be. But Valerie Mathis, I think, is very much a traditional damsel in distress, sort of in the vein more of Mary Goodnight. I mean, she's not bonk, Bond level. But they do have a nice history, and they do have a nice connection with each other, and you sort of can believe the romance a bit in this one. Yeah, I'd say you could. I'd say you could, everybody. But outside of that, honestly, I've watched this special now, quite a few times throughout my life. But she's never the most believable, if I'm absolutely honest. But it was nice trying to mix, for time, Vesper and Mathis together in one character. It works. I'll leave it to that. Her character works, but it's just not exactly my favourite. But one of the highlights actually for me of this film is the actor they've got to play Leiter in this film. Obviously, it's now Clarence Leiter, the British agent who helps CIA agent James Bond. He's terrific in this film. I love him. He's the great sort of side character, secondary character that you want. That it just has his own character, his own personality. You could have your own story based around him if you wanted, but just having him in the story elevates the material, and having working with the main hero just puts a great smile on face, and you love seeing these two work together. Everybody, I think you do. You really enjoy it. His scenes are really good. He has a great sense of tension and emergency in the story, which really helps the situation as well. And yeah, I think Leiter was one of the more main sort of highlights for me than I think actually our actor to play James Bond. So everybody, that is my opinion on the Climax Casino Royale story. Overall, I find it really enjoyable. I think it's really interesting, really unique. What the potential of what could have been if more of the Bond stories had gone to Climax over the years and been done in this way. Would they have still kept this? There are some good points, there are some bad points. I do give it a bit of leeway because it was a live TV thing that happened in the 1950s. Obviously, there were going to be some issues. But my God, Peter Lorre as Le Chiffre, the villain, just makes this special. I'm going to have to do his voice again. You'll have to tell me where the check is, Mr. Bond, or I shall torture you. I shall torture you to an inch of your life. No wonder they made X20's voice on Peter Lorre for stereo. Surface Agent X20 reporting. But everybody, you know what? If you're a Bond fan, I would firmly recommend watching this version of Casino Royale. It's part of the Bond history. It's great to watch and reflect on. And this was technically the first silver screen appearance of James Bond. Everybody, thank you for watching this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see other reviews, editorials, top 10 videos, what if scenarios, and trailer actions, and soon God knows more stuff that's going to come on this channel. Everybody, if you're a Bond fan, there is something for you on the Bond Geek channel always. And always again, everybody, my name's Henry Stevens, and I am the Bond Geek. Goodbye.